We know psychologically one of the worst punishments you can give somebody is put them in solitary isolation. There's a whole lot of developmental studies about the importance of connecting with other people, layers and layers and layers of that stuff. We know we need relationships with multiple people, and particularly people who are not like us, in order to grow as healthy human beings. What does that take? What does it take to find that kind of connection and community? Well, 1 Peter 3:8 tells us, all you need to do is be like-minded, be sympathetic, to love one another, be compassionate and humble. Simple. All you need to do is be like-minded, be sympathetic, to love one another, to be compassionate and humble. Now, we all know people who exhibit a lot of that kind of thing, and they are the people that help build relationships. But the reality is that kind of community, that moment of community that we saw exhibited in the Woolworths ad as the adults are scurrying around and seeing the children with great joy. I mean, that's probably the other lie in the ad, that you could possibly have a school concert where everybody's happy. That would be, I would find that hard to believe. But anyway, on this side of eternity, the truth is we'll only have momentary glimpses of real community. We'll have momentary glimpses. We go, this is it. This is great. And the kinds of things that help those momentary glimpses happen are what Peter says. Being like-minded, being sympathetic, loving one another, being compassionate and humble. And what I'm saying is profound here, because all of us long for community. We long for relationship. It's a profound human need. And the reality that this side of eternity, you're not going to find the perfect community, is a source of pain for all of us. And one of the dilemmas we face at this time of year is as you go into Christmas, a lot of people have the idealised Christmas in their heads, of what Christmas is meant to be. And it's often why Christmas can be a bit painful, because they picture the ideal family moment, the ideal community moment, the sense of being seen and seeing other people, the sense of deep connection. And they picture their family as like either the Coles dinner table or the Woolworths dinner table. And the reality is relationships are complicated. Relationships are complicated. It is not always easy to be like-minded, particularly with family, but with anyone who is different. And in fact, one of my heroes, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, said, the person who loves their idea of community or their idea of fellowship more than the people themselves actually become destroyers of community. One of the dangers is your idealised picture of Christmas can kill Christmas, because you're so busy trying to have the perfect Christmas, you miss the fact that there are imperfect people that need to make up that perfect Christmas. I actually think, I've been doing a bit of thinking about this, and I want to put to you the 7 reasons why Christmas is difficult. The 7 reasons why Christmas is difficult and why relationships are difficult. So I think we don't want to just live in some Woolworths-inspired pseudo-reality. We want to live in the real world. And what I love about the Bible, it addresses the truth of our experience. Peter says this is the stuff you need, but he's going to go on and say a few other things. Before he gets there, he says, I think we need to face why we need to do the work to build relationship and what kind of work is needed. The first reason Christmas is difficult is this: we misinterpret each other's behaviour all the time. We misinterpret each other's behaviour all the time. Because when you see someone acting a certain way, you assume they are thinking and feeling what you would be thinking and feeling if you acted that way. And you also assume that when they use words, they mean the same thing by the words that you would mean if you used those words. And so, because none of that is true, one of the major reasons Christmas is difficult is you misinterpret the behaviour of the people around you. Now, the second reason Christmas is difficult is this. It is that we miscommunicate. Not only do we misinterpret, but we try and communicate in ways that other people don't interpret the intention behind. So not only are we misreading what they're doing, what we're saying and how we're acting isn't communicating what we want to be communicating. So they're the two simplest reasons why Christmas is going to be difficult this year and why the Woolworths ad's not going to fix it all for you. The third reason why Christmas will be difficult this year is a sad truth, and that is we are self-interested. Have you noticed that if in a crowded room, you can have 100 people in the room, and if someone mentions your name on the other side of the room, all of a sudden you hear that conversation. We have a filter that interprets reality based on our self-interest. If you notice, if you buy a car you think is fairly unique because you haven't seen many of them around, the moment you buy the car, all of a sudden you discover they're everywhere. Because your filter now is filtering in the things that matter to you. We are self-interested, and as a result of that, we just often don't think of the consequences of our actions before we act. Now, I just noticed the sound went down then. Is that there we go. So that innate self-interest is one of the reasons. It's not that we care. It's not that we're trying to hurt anybody else. Often, it's just that we're not seeing other people because we're focused on one of the reasons. If you notice how easy it is if someone tells you their name, how easy it is to forget their name. Part of the reason that is because you're not actually thinking about them. You're wired. A lot of your energy is trying to work out whether they accept you or not. And so you're not doing it consciously, but you are focusing, trying to work out whether they accept you. And so who they are is not your top priority. And so that is the self-interest. We are self-interested. So that's one of the reasons Christmas will be challenging. The fourth reason that Christmas could be challenging and all relationships are challenging is that we have bodies. And there are times where our bodies just get in the road. Sometimes you are feeling pain. Sometimes you're feeling tired. Sometimes you're feeling sick. Sometimes you can have a chemical imbalance or a hormonal imbalance. All those things mean, with the best will in the world, you're not able to see people like you'd want to see them. That is a truth. The fifth reason Christmas can be difficult this year and relationships are difficult is that it's easier, particularly for people we find confusing, we don't know how to identify with. It's easier to dehumanise and treat them as a category of person rather than a person. And it can happen in families where somebody gets labelled as this kind of person and they can't escape that story that always gets told about them. But it can happen when you go to Coles or Woolworths, it's really easy to ignore the people who are cleaning the floors or at the checkouts. And so, funnily enough, the people who are trying to encourage us to step into a relationship at Christmas are the ones we end up dehumanising because we just don't see them. We don't see the people that pack our bags for us or sell us the groceries. So one of the things I want to say up front, as a follower of Jesus, it is never okay to dehumanise. It's something we have to continually work against. We are wired to treat people as categories because it takes a lot more energy to stop and see them as a person because they're more complicated than a category. So we actually have to continually work against our tendency to dehumanise. The sixth reason that Christmas can be complicated and relationships can be complicated is this, that sometimes we are hurt. Sometimes people cause us fear or pain. And the way Marvel movies tell us to deal with that, and Westerns and most Hollywood movies tell us to deal with that, is to cause fear and pain to the people we think are the source of our fear and pain. And so one of the sad things that will often happen when families are breaking down is acting out of fear and pain. I will try and cause fear and pain for somebody else. as an attempt to assuage my fear and pain, and that never works. It doesn't ever bring healing or hope, it only brings more damage. So that's the sixth reason. And the seventh reason is occasionally, depending on your history and how it's worked for you, occasionally because of a combination of the six factors we've already talked about, we can end up making conscious choices to actively hurt another person. That's usually not the first port of call, and often when we're misinterpreting, that's often one of the things we'll misinterpret. We'll think that somebody intended to hurt us. Usually that's not the case, but sadly sometimes it is, and so we need to recognise that. So those 7 things are at play in all relationships. And that's why it's unusual to see a room full of adults and children all laughing and being joyful at the same time. And if you're in a room like that, chances are you're in a commercial. Because relationships are complicated. Peter knows that. He's just told us this is the stuff you need, and it's absolutely true. That stuff, his ingredients for a healthy community, being like-minded, being sympathetic, loving each other, being compassionate and humble, they're all true. But he says, your task in order to make this real, in order to make community real, is to do this. Don't repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you are called, so you may inherit a blessing. What is normal is for hurting people to hurt people. This is this cycle of reciprocal evil. Followers of Jesus are called to break that cycle by repaying evil with blessing.